So hello and welcome. It is Monday, the 26th of September. My name is Steve Pugh and I do something called the Growth Strategy Podcast, which goes out live on LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and a few others. And then we clip it up and it all goes on to Google, Spotify, iTunes, and that kind of thing. And what we try and do is introduce you to really interesting people that can help your business or career. And whilst it's wonderful to hear from a Stephen Bartlett or an Elon Musk or whoever, I kind of like to interview real people that you might relate to that have got stories or journeys or whichever that, you can like really buy into kind of how they got there. And then James, especially one of his colleagues, Luke, I had on about 3 weeks ago. Basically, they've literally like last week, I think, launched their own new business. So it's a perfect time to kind of pick his brains, both on his backstory, a lot of stuff to do with marketing, SEO and advertising and PR and stuff. And then likewise, the journey to actually launch your new business. So if you join us for the next kind of 30, 40 minutes, hopefully it'll be quite interesting. Any comments, questions, anything, please kind of drop them in the chat. James, I'm just going to bring you in. There we go. So everyone can now see you and hear you.
Amazing. Hey, Steve, how you doing?
Good. Thank you. How's your Monday been?
It's been good. I feel like this has been a long time coming to get on here. So I'm really happy to be here. And yeah, it's a good Monday.
Well, we've been YouTube buddies for a long time because I used to watch The Source quite a lot. And what I always find quite funny is that with anyone can create one piece of content and do one piece of PR, but it is actually quite difficult to just keep doing it. But the beauty, if you can, or at least for me, you get to feel it, you get to know people a little bit. So the first time we ever actually jumped, I think it was on a Zoom call, it was like, I felt like I knew even though we'd never met before. So yes, it has been a long time coming.
Yeah, it's great to hear. Like I say, on the other side of it, I saw you commenting every week on YouTube, and that's just great to see as well, because from a motivation point of view, that's great that people buy into the story. And then for me as a content creator or creative or working part of telling a storytelling series, you're doing the right things. So that was amazing.
But it's really funny, isn't it, that with it's tough to kind of create content and do stuff because you're doing it week after week after week after week, and often with no feedback.
Yeah.
And it's just when you know it's the right thing to do, but you're not really, and it's just it's that commitment that anyone that does it, I appreciate the hustle because I know how hard it is.
And you do it really well though. You're creating content left, right, and center, and I see it everywhere. And you are right. The persistency, because that's what it is. You need consistency when you create content. And I've been doing this for longer than just a YouTube series. I've been doing it on social media pages for years now. And you are so right. You sometimes you're putting content out there, and you sometimes get little reward, but you got to keep going.
And hi, Connor, as well. But one of the things that I find quite funny, because people won't know this, James will know this, literally about 3-4 minutes before we were meant to go live, my camera just like went blank. And I was like, for fuck's sake. It's just, these things happen. But the point is, if you ever try and set up to do this thing yourself, trust me, I have a really expensive setup, which in theory should be perfect every time. And it's not. And stuff goes wrong and you can't plan for it. It just happens. But it is what it is. It's a first world problem. If that's the biggest problem that I have in my life today,
happy days.
Happy days. I'll take it. And the truth is, like, people won't even notice if you don't even do it. And the commitment and did you say persistency? Because if that's a new word you've invented, I actually quite like it.
Persistency? Yeah. Well, I'm going to go for it.
Persistence and consistency. I think it's a word.
Persistence and consistency, yeah. Because that's what it is. Because it's like the will to do it as well as putting it out there every week. It's like a cross of both.
Well, it's the classic thing as well, as where anyone can do one push-up or 10 push-ups, but to do it every day for like 10 years is tough. And that's why I genuinely appreciate people like Connor, people that do a hustle on something and keep going. It doesn't matter what it is. I appreciate it. And I think that's, something I'm trying to get better at. So one of the things I love to do on the podcast is also, we'll go into the new business and how exciting that is and some of the other stuff. But I also like to go into people's backstory because you often see common traits and stuff with entrepreneurs and people that have started, because this isn't your first business as well. But actually kind of to find out what they're like and what makes them tick, because actually you'll have people now that have literally just started uni. And I know you went to Cardiff, but you'll also have people that, like other people who didn't go to uni. I was going to name some people, but I thought I'm not going to do it. But actually have gone into incredible careers. But the point is, it doesn't matter which route you choose to take. And this is someone that spent a lot of time at uni I am now 100% vouching for you don't need to go. It's right for some things, but not for. But the point is, I like to share the backstory that there'll be people who are from where you're from that kind of relate to that, if that's cool.
For sure.
Where did you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Sheffield, and so I don't sound like I'm from Sheffield. You say I went to uni in Cardiff. When I was down in Cardiff, everyone said I sounded really northern, and when I'm up here, everyone thinks I sound really southern. So I can't win.
Whereabouts in Sheffield?
I grew up in Ecclesall, which is by Ecclesall Road. For anyone who's a student, Ecclesall Road's a great night out. And I'm going to sort of say that I split into both camps. You know, when you said the people who do go to university, people don't go to university. I didn't go to university in the most normal route, and a lot of people don't realise that. When I dropped out of school when I was 16, basically because I did okay in GCSEs. Well, did well in GCSEs, started A levels, and at the time I was playing a lot of tennis. I was coaching tennis, and I don't know, I was 16 years old. I was starting earning money, and I was like, yeah, I'm quite economically driven financially. So I was like, let's drop out of school, let's go earn a living. But it got to the stage when I was like 21, 22, and I got to the point where I was like, I don't want to miss out on any opportunity. And I had friends who'd gone to university, and I just thought, well, what can I do? And I thought, well, I'm not gonna. If I wait 5 years, I might regret not trying. So I basically got a job coaching in America for tennis in the summer. I used to go over every summer, and then one time before I went over, I think it was about May. I literally remember the day on a Wednesday afternoon, and I was like, well, I'm just gonna book my A-level exams and study for them in 2 months out of a book.
Oh, cool.
So it's before the summer exams, before I went to America. I just thought, I'm going to buy a few textbooks. I'm going to study two A-levels, 3 AS, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to apply to university. So I did that, and then I ended up going to university in Cardiff. I went to at 21 years old. So I was not the normal 18-year-old going in, and I had that bit of like, I completely agree. You don't need to go to university, but I had a great time at university when I went there.
I must have one of my cousin's kids, Josh, who's 18 now, has literally just gone to Sheffield. So he's actually going to do engineering at Sheffield, and he started Freshers Week, I think it was last week, and I'm so jealous. I had the best time of my life, and then I was quite fortunate that I went, did engineering, graduated, went to work overseas, but then you had the 2008 oil price crash because I'm old. And then I was offered to do a PhD scholarship and go back, and I was like, oh my God, I get paid to go. Plus I had some savings. And it was just, so I got to do it twice. And it's that fine balance of where life is essentially, in university is what you make it. That you have people that are mega academic, but maybe it's then more about life skills and stuff.
For sure.
And other people are, it's different things to different people. But the point is, I think when I was younger, it was always drilled into me that there was only one real route. You had to do that, that, and that. And that was the thing to do. Is where actually now, I don't have kids, but if I did, I'd be like, look, what do you want to do? If you want to be a carpenter, be a carpenter. I don't, but it's almost when you've seen through the veil that people put up as like to sell the dream, especially at fees potentially going up to, 24.
27 or 24, was it?
Because we know people that are, did an undergrad degree with like 60 grand's worth of debt, which is obscene.
That's my current debt is 60 or 70 grand right now.
Fuck.
It's going up more than I can pay it off because of the interest level.
But that is what I hate, because it's not equal access to everyone. Because again, someone that was very wealthy wouldn't have to pay interest because they would have just paid it.
Yep.
And that's what I hate about the inequality. But honestly, mad respect. And this is what I love about this, because I genuinely love to talk to people and learn more about their story and learn stuff that I didn't know, because that adds into the brand. And by the way, you do have the longest surname in the world, by the way.
Yeah, I do know. It's quite frustrating. Whenever I make a graphic as well, I'm like, oh, God's sake.
It's because I literally had to change the post there, because normally I had the date and time on as well. I just take it.
Yeah.
Anyway, no, honestly, brilliant. And then I've got to ask as well, was being a tennis coach brilliant for getting girls? I just need to know.
Well, I'm gay, Steve, so that's...
Well, I didn't know. Again, sorry if I offended. I didn't know.
No, you didn't.
I'd still...
No, that was not at all. So no for me was the answer. But that's a whole nother conversation. But I would say that tennis at university and throughout especially university, has literally made me who I am today. And so the skills, and then obviously coaching as well. Like you see me on these podcasts or videos or whatever content I'm creating, and I'm like, I'm upbeat, I'm happy, I'm confident, and you're not like that 24/7. This is not like me 24/7 that you go off camera. It's quite draining sometimes doing this. But it's like I used to coach a bunch of like 10 like 7 or 8 year olds. And like you have to be upbeat, you have to be positive, and you get back what you put out there. So for me, it's the positivity and the confidence. And I would say that doing that throughout my years, like as tennis coaching or even competing, because there's another side there with focus and competition and athleticism and all that side, which can link to business. But this side, it's also put me where I am today. So I owe a lot to who I am and where I am now because of sport, which is a bit cliche, but that's it more so than the education.
I love it as well. So I'm a basketball coach, and it's that balance of the ability to shout a room full of 40 people and but command your space, but actually have confidence in stuff and know that anyone that isn't a good athlete, but almost, I think there are massive links between sport and business, just in a way that actually, I think there's a lot of crossovers there. So I've, massive kind of respect for that. So did you enjoy the whole uni experience?
Absolutely loved it. Best time of my life. I recommend it to everyone. I did an undergrad, which had an extra year on, so 4 years. I then did a master's, which was paid for me because I was pretty good at tennis and I coached the team. I was first team captain of the university team. I trained 4 times a week. I was in good shape. And yeah, I mean, hands down, absolutely loved it. I got marketing experience while there. I did tennis coaching. It was lucrative. I can't big up university enough, but mainly from a life experience point of view, because I was very lucky to be involved in certain things which pushed me out of my comfort zone. I got to compete at a good level of tennis, and you were the same with basketball. So yeah, I loved it. I can't lie, I loved it.
One of the things that I've really noticed, and I'm trying to get them on the podcast, is actually a lot of the people, I don't know what it was like in Cardiff, but in Sheffield, you have the sports committee, but then there's like the sports committee people from all different like sports team, club captain, social sec, whatever. But the amount of people that were involved in organised university sport that have gone on to do incredible things, blows my mind. And I think it's people that are willing to kind of do extra organisation, do extra stuff that, as in terms of a life skill. Honestly, it's incredible. And I actually, because I did my PhD and stuff, I was always older generally than the group and the team that I was playing with. But I just have major respect for everyone that's forged their own journey doing different stuff. And it's just, that's part of the reason why I love to talk to people, is because I genuinely love hearing people's stories and that kind of thing.
You talk about extra responsibilities. Like, just say again, like I was managing a budget there. I was £20,000 budget. I was running social media pages. I was employing coaches. I was managing staff schedules. These skills are actual real skills that you bring into business later on. They are directly related to what I do now. So the fact that I could do that at university, that's a skill I wouldn't have had.
No, cool. Honestly, I love it. And it's just, it's funny because everyone has their own life experience. And it's just, I know what I enjoyed at uni, but it seems to replicate in different places. And it's just because the whole sports thing is my kind of background. But anyway, so what happened after uni?
After uni, so this is coming quite fairly recently. So obviously I was still going to America every year to coach. I was content creating. Basically, I was a content creator. By the time I ended university, my master's was in broadcast and journalism, and I got my hands on a camera, and I was like, "Oh, this is fun." Starting making stuff, designing, being creative videos, and I was always obsessed with YouTube. Like I've always been obsessed with YouTube ever since I was like a kid, like 12. I just loved it. So I started like a freelance video business. So I've done that when I was towards the end of university. I was coaching tennis, so I was always one of those guys who had like multiple streams of income. So one was like coaching, one was like making videos, one was a bit of marketing. So that's what I was doing come the end of university. But while I was coming towards the end of my master's, and sort of because I was doing a 2-year master's, I did it part-time because I was getting paid for it and as part of a position at university. as I came to the end, everyone knows what happened 3 years ago now. It was COVID hit. So I was like, oh, well, this puts a change. Sport stopped. Videos, can't make them anymore. Everything's like it's changed. So that's when I came back to Sheffield, and that was moved back in with parents again. Bite the bullet. You'd have to do it. Save money. Then I got a job working for the NHS. So I went on, started cooking for the NHS for 2 months. But then after doing that, because I was just job hunting at the time, while still my multiple incomes were coming in, so I was quite lucky. I then saw a job at Rise at 7, and funnily enough, I'm sure we'll get onto it in the future, my friend Katy Powell advertised a job on LinkedIn for a content creator. So what I did, what you do, you just message them on LinkedIn, reconnect. We used to work together years and years ago before I went to university. She was a waitress, I was a chef. Could have been a love story, but it's not. So yeah, and then I got a job, and then I got a job at Rise at 7 about 2.5 years ago now.
Wow.
And then the rest is sort of history at that point.
This is, for me, is the beauty of longer form content, because I felt like I've known you for a long time, but it's that, I think, again, similar to, it's the hiccups and the things that can happen, like COVID, that can throw you off track. You have hopes, dreams, and ambitions, and something happens. But actually, for me at least, it's when you try and find, okay, what do I do next? So you went to work for the NHS. There was a point when my wife, she trained at a really prestigious law firm, but in the 2008 recession wasn't kept on. And then she was trying to think, well, what do I do next? And she got a job in the NHS to do like fairly low level HR stuff, but learn her craft. But the stuff that you often learn doing those kind of jobs is still priceless, like brilliant kind of stuff. But then I also love the story that you were able to kind of find stuff on your network and see friends and ask for help.
Yeah.
That kind of journey.
I've always been very proactive since I was young. Just like, I'd say going to uni probably instilled it in me of just going out there and finding opportunities, and tapping into networks, and like always going for it. I never sit at home and do nothing. It's one thing about me. Like I can't do it. I'm terrible for it. It's got its bad sides, because you can work hard and you're in danger of then burning out. So I've got to manage it carefully. But I'm still fairly young, sort of, not really anymore. But I've always been someone who just works hard. But that doesn't necessarily mean work. Like I'll go and play tennis, or I'll go for a run. There's always something to occupy my mind. So yeah, I sought out the opportunities, and like you said, there's opportunities coming from anywhere. You've just got to go and find them. Like, yes, COVID sucked, but I found an opportunity and I made the most of it.
I think it's those kind of traits that you'll see. Like one of the things I love is hearing people's stories, and it's you learn resilience. So people always think about, they ask, who are your mentors? Who do you follow? Do you have a coach or whatever? But for me, I get inspiration from people I speak to on this, and you're just real people that have done stuff and found stuff. And again, the hope is that you could have a setback today, but actually, if other people have been through something similar or whichever, and it's that just keep going. I honestly, I love it. So then, what if you're happy to talk about it? How was Rise at 7? Obviously, loads of PR, loads of press, loads of stories, and that's how we kind of first connected.
Yes. Yeah, so I joined Rise at 7 when there were about 20 people. I think they were about a year in. They're a really good agency, and over the time they do really good work. They really tore up the industry, and they grew and scaled massively. And I went from being their content creator when I first started to ending up almost heading up, like being a marketing manager, and having a lot of responsibility for lead generation, growing certain personalities in the business, which we used the YouTube channel for, and distributed content widely on social platforms. I think when I started, the social numbers were, I have it written down somewhere, but they were pretty low, and however many X times by the time I decided to leave. But I had a really good time at the agency. I've got a lot of respect for the people there, doing really good work all the time. So certainly an agency to follow and to aspire to on whatever I'm doing now.
No, that's cool. Should we touch on what you're doing now?
Yeah,
why not?
Well. Why not?
I'll let you take the floor and then ask you some questions about it. that's okay.
Yeah, so obviously I learned a lot at Rise at 7, digital PR and SEO, and social media. Even though that was more of my background, so I already had that knowledge base. I asked every question under the sun. If you ask anyone at Rise at 7, like a personality trait about me that I was probably curious, I literally asked every single person on that business questions. They probably hated me for it, but I was keen to learn. So about 3 months ago, myself, Luke Cope, and Katy Powell, who helped me get the job originally, and Luke, who worked closely alongside at Rise, we decided to leave Rise at 7. Been inspired, obviously, by the journey that they took, and decided so we're going to set up our own agency. So we've actually been working in sort of silently in the dark, getting everything sorted for the last 3 months. We were quite lucky to pick up some clients early on, doing digital PR and essentially digital PR and content marketing, reactive PR. And as of last week, we launched publicly with a typical YouTube style video. There was going to be no other way. So it's an agency called Bottled Imagination. So search it off on LinkedIn, obviously, follow, subscribe, all that sort of stuff that I do. But yeah, it's a really exciting start so far. And yeah, we're 3 months in and it's going really well so far.
Because your website is really nice. Because I knew you had the Holden page for a while.
Yeah.
And then I was in London when it launched, so I didn't really see it properly on my phone. But when I got back to my laptop, and marketing's a really funny one because not everyone has taste, but likewise, some people, you can tell if someone's good at marketing by literally seeing what they do and the content and stuff. But it was so slick and it was a great idea, and I loved the bottle hidden within the logo. And then you followed the theme throughout the whole site, and it's very nice. What is it you hope to almost say do differently with the business than maybe what other people do?
So the brand of Bottled Imagination, we hope it sort of tells it in the name. And it's all about the imagination, the creativity, the ideas. So everything we do essentially will come down to that imagination, that story at the start. We all know marketers, throughout whether you're doing content series or doing a campaign, the idea has to be so good. It has to be backed by data. And the PR industry as a whole is quite saturated right now. Although there's lots of work, there's also loads of agencies and there's loads of outreach going on, and sometimes there can be loads of just random stuff going out there. But we want to take it right back and really focus on the start bit, the ideas and the strategy, essentially to improve a client's website, because it's all digital now. The whole aim is for it to rank higher in Google. So we're going to get that strategy right, make sure we are building links in the right area of the site and having the right ideas at the start. And so that's where we're really putting all our focus on, to have that really creative campaign-led work. And that's the plan. We'll see in a few months how it's going. But no, it's going well so far.
No, it's class. But what I love is almost, at what point did you get the itch to, I know you did some freelance stuff before you went to Rise, but almost at what point did you think, you know what, I kind of want to take my own destiny in my own hands?
I've wanted to start a business like properly for as long as I can ever remember. So it was just about when that would be and what it would be and what the opportunity would be. And the opportunity came about, and it felt like the right time. The industry was in the right place, and it was, you could say I planned this for ages. I didn't. Like we decided to do this pretty quickly, and all together came up with the idea, and it's something that I've always wanted to do. So I would even I've said to my parents, every job I've ever been in or whatever, ever since I was young, I'm going to own my own business. I'm going to do my own thing. I've always wanted to work for myself, and I was in every job I've been very lucky that I've had the autonomy to do that and lead it. But now, this is something of our own, which is something that I personally always wanted to do, and I'm sure like your audience are very similar.
Well, I think that what's interesting is, and this is something it's funny when you get, so I'm 39 now, but as you get a little bit older, you start to piece things together. I remember once my uncle said to me, you'll learn stuff across your career in jobs that seem meaningless or whatever, but will come back and it'll fit at a certain point. But all of the skills that you've been learning to do, leadership, getting people together, being enthusiastic, doing stuff on camera, doing socials, doing PR, selling stuff, running budgets. That's all building towards a certain point where actually, having all the stuff that you need to kind of do that. But the one big thing as well is that because it's scary when you make that jump, because in theory there's no guaranteed paycheck, and it's
No.
I think it takes a certain type of person to be willing to take that leap, if that makes sense.
I would say I am a bit of a risk taker. And I know you sent some questions about what sort of stuff we might talk about today. And one of the things you sent me was like, oh, your best piece of advice. And I'd look at it. I literally 5 minutes before I jumped on that. And it's not really a piece of advice I've heard, but it's more of a mantra. And it's a famous. This is why I love YouTube, by the way. There's a famous YouTube channel called Yes Theory, and they just go around the world doing crazy stuff. And they always say, seek discomfort and you'll grow from it. So seek discomfort. So that's literally anything I ever go into, whether it's being on a podcast, whether it's going into a business, seek that level of discomfort. Make sure you're not going to be comfortable doing it, but you'll grow from it and you'll be more comfortable afterwards. And if something fails, I'm quite lucky that I can probably go and get another job.
Yeah.
Like,
that's the beauty of it. Yeah.
Failing is fine. I'm not scared of failing. I'm just throwing myself into situations. So it's what I do on the daily. Like, I'm telling you, putting a camera in front of your face, walking down the street in the middle of London, say that's not easy. That is seeking discomfort, but it gets easier.
I once did it in Charles de Gaulle Airport in Paris, and that was the most public place at a departure gate I'd ever done it. And I was like, well, at least now I have my own private contained room, which kind of is a little bit different. But again, it's that kind of, at least for me, the will, the drive, the passion. So I was in Cubs and Scouts growing up.
Yep.
And I have no problem at all if this completely fails, goes tits up, whatever. As long as I know I've tried my best.
Oh, yeah.
Fine. And I don't know about you, but say from sports, I hate it when you lose against a bad team because you just didn't really show up. You didn't put the effort in. I have no problem if I get absolutely smashed by someone that just nailed it, the team, they were just really good. I applaud that.
Yeah.
And that's essentially what business is. It's like the world's, do you know Mark Cuban, who's a basketball owner for Dallas Mavericks? He says that business is the world's biggest sport because it runs 24 hours a day. Everyone in the world is involved and it's mega competitive. And I kind of love that in some ways, but I know it's not for everyone, but I love it. People that do.
I do as well. I'm not gonna lie. Obviously, I'm one of those people who, you said it literally nailed on perfectly. I've said it to Luke and Katy multiple times over the past 3 months is I'm going to give this like my 100% because otherwise I won't forgive myself afterwards.
Yeah.
If I give my 100% and I do everything in my power and whatever happens, then so be it. But luckily it seems to be going the other way, which is even good. So I'm going to go even harder now.
No, okay. But I think one of the other good things as well is that you mentioned before about personal branding and when you were doing certain things to build people's profiles. But the same is true that I was hired recently by an IT firm and the MD, I hadn't spoken to him in 10 years. But he'd been tracking some of the stuff I was doing just casually, just osmosis absorbing in the background. And then, they've asked me to help with but the point is putting yourself out there and doing it and just showing commitment. People embrace it. They love it. And I guarantee for you, Luke, Katy, or anyone, people will happily snap you up. I'm always looking out for who's good, who's talented. Hence when we first spoke. Because actually, and hi, thanks to Tony as well who tuned in, but it's trying to create that network of good, solid, talented people who could be in Nigeria, could be anywhere in the world. It's just the world's changed and it's how you just find your feet and work with good people and bounce off good ideas. And that's kind of So what was special about Luke and Katy? Why did you want to work with them? This question wasn't planned, by the way. So.
No, it's okay. I've known Katy years, over 10 years. And prior to 7, we worked quite closely on a number of projects and we all worked together pretty well. I love ambition and I gravitate towards it. And they're both very ambitious, talented people, which I'm honored to be in business with. So I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone else at this point. So super happy with the decision and I couldn't imagine doing it with anyone else.
But at least the one thing that I think will be a massive help that I don't have is you've got people to bounce ideas off. And it's that support mechanism that, especially if you all kind of have different specialisms, that'll really help. You know what I mean? And as silly as it sounds, so there's a receptionist in this building called Brooke. And even earlier today, I was buying some branded merch. And I was saying to her, how big shall I get the logo? Because normally I'm sat in here on my own. But it's obviously with bigger business decisions. But it's really nice to go on the journey with someone. It just wasn't right for me when I started at the start.
You're right. It's totally you might already know what you want, but just have that second glance, like that. We launched a website. Just everyone have a look over it, see what you think. And even the other day I ordered some hoodies. I'm going to do the logo this size. Is that all right? So you're exactly right. And it gives you that sort of assurance when you're making decisions, which just gives you more confidence.
Can I ask you about the general marketing social industry as a whole?
Yeah.
And it was almost where do you think a lot of people have maybe gone wrong that you, with the new business, you're looking to adapt and change?
I think technology always is ahead of marketing. And you see it every time, and you see it with platforms coming out, and it takes like marketers a while to catch up. So it's really about having, especially in social media and PR, it's so reactive, and you've got to be looking at trends all the time. And you've just got to try and keep up as best as you can with what is currently going on, whether that's a new technology of TikTok, whether it's Be Real, whether it's a new PR trend that's happening, a new campaign type, or something you can jump on the back of from a reactive point of view. And we're living in a world now where speed is so important, and being reactive and jumping on the trends, because everyone's attention span's going down, and you need to be there straight away. So as long as we can keep up with the progressions of the industries and technologies within it, we'll be doing very well. We can then help our clients do that as well.
Because I think one of the big things that you see in a lot of different industries, from engineering, everything, is that most, I reckon 90% of firms in any industry are like followers. So they get into a habit, they do stuff, and they've done the same stuff they've done for 2, 3, 5 years, and they just keep going. And it's a very small group of people who actually push the boundary. Oh, yeah. Does that make sense? But that's actually where the knowledge and the skill is. That, in prime example, so say if, God forbid, there's a potential recession coming, the people who will survive it and outlast everyone else are the people that can push the boundary, because they are talented enough to sit at the innovative end of the spear.
It's so true.
Versus a lot of other people will just sit on their laurels and still do Facebook ads, even though it might not be what it once was.
Yeah, we're probably in a recession already, but there is going to be a lot of winners out of this recession. There will be some businesses who come out the other side even stronger, and you're so right. They're the ones who have the foresight to take the risk or do something a bit different, to stand out from the crowd, because that's all marketing is really trying to do at this point, is to get in front of their audience. So there's so many ways you can do that, and the firms that do the same thing they've done for the last 10 years and almost like, well, my competitor's not doing it, so why should I do it? Those are the ones who will probably struggle a bit more.
Because I think one of the things which as well is why I think people would hire you is because I know the first time we spoke, you said, well, actually the roadmap stuff, that could go down really well on TikTok. But I'm a 39-year-old white man that's never been on. Actually, no, I was forced to. I signed up like a month ago, but I've never posted. I don't quite get it. My point being that there will be millions of brands in the UK and around the world that need someone to say,
just lead the way.
Steve, do this. Or can we have permission? We think it's the right thing to do that, and that. And then any smart business owner would say, you understand it 100 times better than I do. Yes. Yeah. And the whole point is people hire you for your decisions and your knowledge. And I think that's when you get a lot of average people that just do averagely because they just do the same. You want to find the people that will push the boundary and tell you, Steve, you should be doing that. You should be doing that. You should. And that's what people want. And I think the more people get to know you over YouTube and social and stuff, that will hopefully build a brand which builds the trust, where it's almost a no-brainer in some ways, because you're not so much hiring bottled imagination. You're hiring you, you're hiring Katy, you're hiring Luke. that actually it's the trust that if I put my money with you, it's the right thing to do, regardless of how you say it should be spent. Does that make sense?
100% said it better than I could ever say it. You can come on our sales pitches from now on, Ashley.
But honestly, but I think it's as you go through time that I'd like to say, I love your new photos as well. That's sick. As someone that used to, when I was doing my PhD, I started my first business, which is a photography business. And again, there's a very fine balance between, there are hundreds of photographers out there, but there's only one or two that I work with, because you need to spot the talent. Photography is so important because it just sets the whole tone. But the whole point is, I'll say to them, look, I've got this idea, you run with it.
Yeah,
and actually,
they're the expert, aren't they?
Yeah, I hired a content creator called Alex on Friday, and we've agreed to do 3 videos, do certain things, but I love his style, what he wants to do. He knows the topics we want to talk about. He has 100% free reign to just go nuts. Because
and that's the best thing to do.
But that's what people should do with you or anyone that you trust and you want to work with, because actually that's what they're good at. And it really annoys me that it's when people try and control it too much and they just ruin a good idea. And it's anyway.
I think you get that both internally in-house or in a company and with agencies. It's a problem across the board. You hire someone to do because they're an expert. So if you can trust them to do the job and you know they're good at their job, then let them do what they're good at.
No,
and the results will be there.
For anyone that launches a business, because it was only last week, wasn't it? How's kind of feedback and stuff been? Just out of interest.
Feedback's been really good. Overwhelmingly good. Actually, we did the Netflix style video, which is a bit of a spoof, but that actually went down really well. Even fellow agency owners reached out to us, and the support's been really good, and website traffic's been great. Lots of nice, a few warm leads in the contact form as well. So cool. A lot of people applying for jobs, which is really interesting. And it's the feedback's been great. We actually couldn't have asked for a better launch, I don't think.
No. And one of the things that I love about building a business is that it starts slow. It's like trying to build inertia with a massive rock, and you're pushing it, and it's like, it's not. But if you as soon as you stop pushing, it'll roll back. But just keep going and keep going, and you just feel tiny little tectonic shifts in movement, and then likewise, that's the game. It's just you're so right. We're having conversations now that will come off, or in 3 months' time, will turn into something. And the same for conversations we had 2 months ago. They come back in touch now, and it is a slow burn, but it's got really good signs, and it's moving in the right direction currently, which is really good. Yeah, it's cool. It's cool. So you've already answered one of the questions I was going to ask as we kind of go through the interview. I do genuinely love asking people about advice, and don't worry, I'm not going to ask you again, but it's that balance of, for me, that's where you can really learn. And I genuinely, I do take what people say on board. There's a guy called Matt McGough from a company called Ithaca Films, and he said, why do you treat business like a sprint? You don't have to do what Kipchoge did and run the marathon in 2 hours. It's you've got 20, 30 years to build this thing. Don't burn yourself out. But the point is, I love asking those kind of questions because I know people will take a lot of value in that. The second question that I always love to ask is that if you were to give advice to your younger self, you can pick any age, you can pick school, uni, GCSEs, A-levels, anything, even 2 months ago. So if you were to give advice to your younger self, what would it be?
I think this answer is getting more common depending on the age of the people you ask, or the generation they're from, or just in terms of how the world's heading. But I always used to care a lot about what people thought about me, a lot. Mm-hmm. Even down to, I don't know what you're wearing or something stupid, or what have you said, or I post a picture, what do people think, sort of thing. And I finally, thank God, got to the stage in my life where I don't care as much, and I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And I think as a world and a population, we're all getting to that. We're all getting accepting of ourselves, so whoever we are and whatever we want to do. even going back to the university question, people in their head will be thinking, "Oh, I should go to university because everyone thinks I should," but it's not. Just do what you want and be happy with that decision. So I feel like it is more common, but it's also once you get to that stage in your life, not everyone's there, and with people who are, it's a good place to be.
I must say, when after I graduated first time, and it was 2007, I was working in Jamaica. It was quite a nice job and whatever, but I wasn't happy. And I remember saying to my mum, "Look, I think I'm going to quit." And everyone was like, "What are you doing? You're mad." And there was even a guy that was on the basketball team called Tom. He was the year below me at uni, also did mechanical engineering. And he was like, "Steve, you're crazy to give up that opportunity. It's the biggest mistake of your life." And I was like, "Come on, mate. I don't even know you that well." Anyway.
Yeah.
But it was the right thing. I followed my heart, and it was the right thing to do. What was interesting for him is that he graduated, went to work at Bank of America. He was sold the big investment banker dream that a lot of people buy into. And after 6 months, he was like, "I'm going to do the same." It wasn't for him. But the point is, nobody can put themselves in your shoes. Even if they think they know you, they think they know what's going on. From their point of view, I think you should do. Trust me, you have to follow your heart. And don't regret. Do I regret? No. Like, I've made personal mistakes in the past, but actually I don't regret that I tried my best and I did my best. Does that make sense? And I 100% agree that if you go to uni and you hate it, drop out. But find something else you want to do more first. You know what I mean?
Yeah. There's that caveat of have a plan B. Like I have a million plans in my head. I've got ideas coming out like that. But have a plan B. And it's just don't care what anyone thinks about you. Throw yourself into new situations. So that seek discomfort thing. And that's literally how I sort of try and live now in business and personal.
No, I think it's quite cool. It is difficult though when you put yourself out on social, and even like silly things. Like I posted a picture yesterday, and it was in London last week. It was outside the BBC.
It was an amazing picture. I loved it.
But for me, that's a genuine life dream that one day, you want to be recognised for this. But it was almost where, and I was like, do I do it? And you always second guess yourself. But actually, what was quite nice was that people kind of give you a bit of love. But what it also showed me as well, it's easy to fall into the trap where you just share business type stuff. That's not the right thing to do. You need to let people know into James and Steve and what your hopes and dreams are. And
it's why video content is so good.
Yeah. But
you get to see it.
It's hard and it's tough, but actually it's tone of voice, it's mannerisms, it's the fact that I keep coughing every 2 minutes. But that's it's the authenticity, which is the key word for me that people buy into or not. Because everyone knows that nobody's perfect, and and I think sometimes now people rebel against brands that perceive to be perfect. They pretend everything's
it's a common thing at the moment.
No, cool. So before we kind of wrap up, what's your dream for the future?
That's a great question because I never really know how to answer this because I change my mind every other day. I'm loving what I'm doing now. So my focus is in the now. So I'm not really thinking too far ahead apart from the business growth. So I hope from a business point of view, we can grow the business and more importantly, is like a really good place to work for the team and also so our values are like doing good work, using your imagination. And we just want to be a good place to work. Mm-hmm. So that's my dream for the future. Come a bit older, we'll see what happens. But I think I'll always be like creating content and telling stories because that's just what I've always done.
But I think for me, I enjoy it. Some people hate creating content because they're not doing it for the right reason.
Yeah.
And I think don't want to speak for you, but just enjoy doing it. You'd probably do it, and you probably did do it before you ever got paid for it. And it's just, but I think that's the hurdle. And then one of the other things that I've found myself is that when you find your niche stuff that you don't care if anyone sees it, you enjoy creating it. And thank you for telling me.
This is inspired by Stephen Kenwright, who's one of the old founders or one of the founders of Rise at 7. He wrote down a bucket list of things that he wants to do in his life, and he's just going through and ticking them off. So when we formed the business, I got Luke and Katy and myself. We were actually in Croatia at a time, and I said, "All right, everyone, get your phones out. Let's do 10 bucket list things that we want to do this year, and then do 10 bucket list things you want to do in your life, and we're going to revisit them throughout the year. We're going to see if we can cross."
That's cool.
The ones we've done for the year, because it's something to look forward to, and then it's an achievement. Like we've hired our first employee a week ago.
How was that? What was the
Amazing.
thought process, the kind of,
Well,
how was it?
I was dealing with the pensions, so I was like, "There's a lot of paperwork here." But no, it's amazing that I can't believe we fired our first employee. So, but for Katy, she's really wants to grow, and it's in Katy's team, it's in the PR team. She really wants to grow a really good, happy, good workplace, good environment for her team, and that's on her bucket list as hiring her first employee. So I was like,
Wow.
"That is, you've literally ticked off something here."
I haven't got the one thing that I'd say to everyone is it's to make sure that you build the business that you want to build. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And what I'm purposely trying to do doesn't involve that. So I work with and I pay a lot of really great people to do a lot of really great stuff, but they're not salaried staff just because that's not the business that I want to build. Because I know that I would worry too much about paying people's wages and stuff, that in itself would ruin it for me. But I have crazy respect for everyone. And actually, I spoke to a guy called John McCabe, he's now the chief exec or president of the Northeast of England Chamber of Commerce. And I asked him the same question. It was to do with actually, what was it like hiring your first member of staff? And he said, the first one was a really big deal because you're worrying about so much stuff. The second one was easy because you've already sorted all the pension stuff. And it's that just momentum. And I'm genuine, success or failure, I'm really excited to see the journey. And I hope, you shared the kind of story. Do you have any plans for your own YouTube channel or series or stuff?
It is a pipe dream to have my own YouTube channel where I just do my own life and just explore things. Like, I love adventures. I love going out and like new nature and going up climbs, walks, that sort of stuff. I've got my own drone. I do all that sort of stuff. So if there was an absolute pipe dream, this is going to sound ridiculous now, is I'd buy a van, I'd convert it and go and drive it off and be remote and just make videos.
Oh, cool.
That's literally one day. I'll get to that point. Don't know when it'll be, but that's literally the pipe dream.
The one thing that always gets me is that you could actually technically maybe do that tomorrow if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's always the scary thing of, especially now with digital technology and stuff. Like, you're dialed in on Zoom, but you could be anywhere.
Yep.
But nowadays you could get away with that. And that's the thing that I always found difficult, was almost I'd always be like, mañana, next year. And it's just, if you want to do something, just do it. And I love, so my encouragement to you is that if you ever want to do it, just, what type of van? The VW camper?
I'm quite tall. I'm 6'2", so it needs to be the biggest possible van I can buy. So I will do it. I mean, one of our company perks is going to be that you can go and work abroad for a certain amount of time, because we've got to sort it with insurance and sort of stuff like that from a business point of view. But it's something that we're passionate about, that people get to work from whatever environment they want to work in.
That's cool.
So I'll certainly be taking advantage of that as well. Going to plan myself a trip in October. But still
the beauty of being the boss.
Yeah.
You can do what you want.
Yeah,
and
it is.
It's like the people always talk about the crazy founders and stuff, are the people that have rogue ideas. But the point is, it's your choice. You can work a day a week if you want. You can do. Do it. Honestly, whatever you think. And the funny thing is, it's when people are bold, that will create the environment and workplace that people want to work, because they'll see your passion and they'll want to work with you. Not just the salary or not just the whatever. So no, honestly, it's cool. Because we've kind of covered all the questions, is there anything you would like to talk about or plug before we go?
Well, it'd be rude for me not to say just follow Bottled Imagination on any social platform or connect with me. And any questions as well, I'd love to just talk. I love to talk to people. So if anyone has any questions for PR in the PR industry or SEO or social, get in touch. And follow the pages, especially on LinkedIn.
No, cool. Honestly, thank you. And I did have some people who were really interested to catch up with this. That I think you should start your own video podcast type thing, because the hardest bit is trying to think of content to create for yourself week in, week out. But you're really good on camera. You can talk to people. You're friendly. You're warm, and just try and make it about the other person. But the point is, you can do it week in, week out.
Yeah,
and actually.
It's like you're saying, it's literally what we're thinking now, because we had our heads focused on the launch, obviously, in this video, and now we're thinking, what's going to be our ongoing marketing activity to keep generating leads consistently. So I've always wanted to do a podcast, I want it to look how you're set up right now. That's so I need to
If
get
you're
that
ever around
done.
Newcastle, you're more than welcome to come and have a look and see the setup. But the funny thing is, and obviously this is a business strategy related podcast, so I don't mind if people take value from this, but the challenge is finding something you enjoy doing that you would happily do. But one of the most important things that I've really found is that I purposely do it live, because that way there's no real edits. It's gone.
Yeah.
But it's the commitment in your diary every week, realistically for the next few months, to create content and put yourself out there and share your story, that even if people only tune in for 3 seconds, you want them to get a vibe, and then they can catch up afterwards on YouTube. And then the beauty of it as well is that from today's talk, we might get 7 or 8 clips that all go onto YouTube as separate videos. And it's that content machine.
It is, yeah, it really is. You've got so many different it's that create that hero piece of content and distribute forever, isn't it? So
but again,
it's
most people, including marketing companies, don't do it.
Yeah.
I think you should, because I know how good you are at that kind of thing. That it's just, and yeah, if I can ever help in any way, thank you. So thank you for your time. I know it's been a bit higgledy-piggledy today. My voice has been off and on, and I had camera problems before we started. And
no, it's all good. It's been an absolute pleasure.
No, honestly,
it's been a long time coming. So
it has. But no, genuinely, massive, major success with the business, and just getting this far. It's that balance of it's like you've just got to Wimbledon and you're about to play your first game.
That's the real part for it.
It's a journey to get there, but now it just starts. That's the beauty. Yeah. And then you've got Wimbledon, and then you've got the US Open, and then that's the thing that I love. It's the ultimate way to express imagination and creativity and create better lives for people and stuff as well. So a genuine thank you for your time today.
Thank you so much.
Hopefully we'll catch up soon, and good luck with everything.
And thanks very much. I'll see you later.
No worries. Cheers, James. Bye-bye.